right, well, we're ready to get started, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Christine Connerly. I coordinate the Student Learning Center. Been there since 2003. And does anyone know where we're located?
Student Services Building.
Student Services Building, yes. 3rd floor, room 340. Guess, how many tutors do you think we have? Just a guess.
25.
How many would you say? 25, and you said about 25? We have more than 70. More than 70 tutors that subject tutors. We have 60 subject tutors. We have about 7 writing tutors, 6 SI leaders, and then we have interns as well. So we have a large staff that works with a large number of students. So we definitely keep ourselves busy and keep the campus busy. We're getting about 1,000 visits a week right now. So it's been extremely busy, and we keep getting more and more visits as time goes by. So I'll talk about that in just a minute here. But the best, let me make sure the sound is on. Did you get the volume? I hope that this works. The best way to find out about our program is to hear from students who've actually used our services.
My name is Stephanie Gold, and I am a second year at Chico State, and my major is bioscience.
My name is Jose Madrano. I am a psychology major, and I'm a second year at Chico State.
Carlos Romero, math education major.
Hi, I'm Maria. I am a double major in criminal justice and German.
My name is Eric Pacheco. This is my second year attending CSU Chico, and I'm a liberal studies major.
I started off with SI, and since SI helped me so much for the past year, I kept going to other tutors such as writing, math, science.
The programs I've utilized are SI, subject tutoring for chemistry, and the writing workshop for my multicultural class last semester, and the study skills workshop.
I used it for my pre-calculus class, then calculus, and also philosophy.
I've gone to workshops, to the writing center, or for tutoring on a specific subject.
Writing tutoring, knowing that I'm not the best writer and writing is just not my strength. I did get a better understanding of how to better build my paper and how to better organize it.
Writing tutoring has helped me a lot by making sure my papers are as detailed as possible and are grammar proof and punctuation proof.
Management, where you're able to manage and balance out your study time with going out time. They teach us strategies on how to study.
Subject tutoring, it just helps me understand everything more and gives more guidance. And I just have someone there correcting my mistakes so I can learn along the way.
You focus specifically on that subject, and you're working one-on-one with someone that is either taking that subject right now or has mastered that subject at that point, and you're able to interact with them and ask them questions that you wouldn't be able to ask your professors during class.
When I don't get to ask a question in class, I could always go one-on-one in tutoring or in small groups, and it always helps to just understand the material a little bit better.
It was really helpful to go to SI. My SI leader, Brittany, she was really helpful in explaining the material more in depth than what we went over in class.
Over all the material that was in class, for the finals, for midterms, for quizzes, in class for our projects.
Tutoring helped me so much in all my study habits by coming and utilizing the time more than just in class.
Definitely better study skills, how to improve my study skills, how to improve my time management.
The number one thing it does for my study habits is decrease my stress level, which is really important because then it's less of trying to teach myself and having a support. It's like my support group.
I was pretty shy when talking to people, but now I feel more confident.
I was really struggling in calculus. I think that having tutoring for calculus really helped me.
I believe SI has helped me my grades just because it gives me that extra help and extra clarification that I need when learning new material. I feel like without SI, my grades wouldn't have been as high as they were with the addition of it.
If it wasn't for SI, I wouldn't have gotten the grade that I got, which was an A.
I ended up with an A in that class. And the percentage, I don't know, it was 98%.
Student Learning Center has really benefited my whole education at Chico State.
Definitely the place to come if you need help.
No, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's something that's very beneficial. You'll get great grades with it. Guarantee you that.
All right, so excellent. They speak it better than we could by far. So I definitely wanted to share that. I love the video that Deanna put together. She did an awesome job on it. So just a little bit about who manages the Student Learning Center. Chela Mendoza Patterson, who's also the director of EOP, is our director. I coordinate mainly overseeing the tutoring program and study skills and the kind of the general overall operation. And then Deanna coordinates writing and SI, and we're going to hear more about that in a minute. And then Wendy Porter is our office manager. She's here too. And then we have more than, as I mentioned earlier, more than 70 subject area writing tutors, SI leaders, and student assistants. So we have quite an operation. It's a large operation, and I'll show you a little bit about what it looks like on the busy day in a little bit. Our mission is to promote active and independent learning in a high-quality environment outside the classroom. And we have 4 different programs that we operate. Subject area tutoring, over 89 subject areas, writing tutoring, supplemental instruction, and then we have study skills and writing workshops as well. And one of the main things we try to do is integrate study strategies with course content. So we're not there just to teach the content, but how to learn as well. So the goal is, as you heard from the students earlier, is to help improve them as students overall. Build student confidence, and we heard from that as well from the students. Model and promote active learning. And that's something that especially happens in SI. That picture was from an SI session. They do a lot of interactive types of activities and things. Students by class, predominantly freshmen, and that's our goal, is really to help freshmen, because the first year is when students tend to struggle the most. Freshmen, sophomores, but we do see a little bit from every class. And our graduate numbers have gone up a little bit because we do assist with writing. Graduate students often seek help with writing from us. Students by ethnicity, this is from last year, but it's pretty similar. It hasn't changed a whole lot. But we basically do see quite a diverse group. We work very closely with EOP and the SSS program, Student Support Services program, and other programs to try to make sure that we have a diverse group of students coming. Increase in student usage. You could see a dramatic increase. We moved into the Student Services building in fall 2008, and we had 88 students come the first day to sign up for tutoring. On September 4th this year, we made 524 appointments the first day of signups. So it is crazy. This is kind of what it looks like down the hall. There's lines of people waiting to make appointments, and we're busy all day, so it's kind of crazy. This is from last fall to October 15th, compared to this fall, October 15th. This is how many students have come so far. We've seen 1,489 students so far this semester, and this is how many visits they have made to the Student Learning Center. So last year at this time, we'd had about 6,000. This time, we've had 6,224. So we're definitely seeing increases in usage. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that funding has been cut back for TAs and departments. There's less funding for specialized tutoring programs in specific departments. More faculty, the class sizes are bigger. More faculty are encouraging students to come. We just did a midterm tutor survey, and the number one way that people hear about us is that their professor recommended that they come or let them know about it. The second highest way they hear about it is from friends. So we know word of mouth and professors are the best way to get the word out about what we're doing. Popular subjects that we tutor, biology tends to be number one, because it's especially those pre-nursing courses. Chemistry, math, writing, history, Japanese, those are some of the more popular subjects. But we do tutor a variety of subjects beyond that as well. Our priority for courses tutored, we look at general education courses, first year freshman type classes, gateway classes into majors like accounting 201, 202, pre-major classes, courses with large enrollments, and high rates of D, W's, and F's. So, and then also if there's a high demand for tutoring. There is kind of a misconception out there that if we have enough students from a class coming and demanding a tutor, that we will be able to magically be able to afford to have them. Unfortunately, we can't do that, but we do try to prioritize those classes that are going to have the most impact, especially for freshmen and high-risk students as well. Okay, we do train our tutors. We have 2-day training before the beginning of each semester, and we are certified through the College Reading and Learning Association. They have an international tutor certification program. And we usually have 50 to 60 tutors over a couple of days. We have guest speakers, mentor tutors helping with that training. We have tutoring is almost all in groups, and our groups keep getting bigger with the demand increasing. It used to be groups of 4 and sometimes more, and I had to change that yesterday to often more because our groups are getting larger, and some of our groups are up to 6, 7. And I know that Michael, who tutors philosophy, has groups of 11, I think. So, and then SI is also group instruction. We have weekly sessions for tutoring ongoing throughout the semester, which is something that's a little bit different than it's not drop-in. It's specific to a specific subject, and it's an ongoing weekly session. And we find that those students, of course, who come regularly and commit to the tutoring tend to do much better and earn higher grades. Tutors are not meant to be professors. They are really trained more to ask questions, use the Socratic method, help guide students to model active learning, and to help motivate students to learn. Some of the skills that students always say that they gain from tutoring: better understanding of the course materials, always number 1. And the next one is, whoop, I was going the wrong way there. Sorry, hit the wrong button there. And then the next one is better exam preparation. This is my favorite, one of my favorite cartoons. Midway through the exam, Alan pulls out a bigger brain. I'd like to do that certain days. Okay, so just a little look at what it might look like on a busy day in the Student Learning Center.
¿Cómo se llama el gato loco más precioso?
Okay, so that was a little taste of what it might look like on a busy day, which Mondays, Wednesdays, and pretty much almost any day in the afternoon these days tends to look like that. So we saw sessions for Spanish, economics, microbiology, anatomy, accounting, study skills, all of those as we did our little walkthrough there. So that's the end of my part, and I'm going to turn it over to Deanna, who's going to talk a little bit more about writing and SI and a few other things.
I absolutely love this video. It's como se llama and molecules of this and 2 plus 2, but they're probably more advanced math than that. I just knew that. Let's bring up my Prezi here.
I think yours is on the other tab.
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. So they switched this on me, so there we go. There it is. Okay. So I am Deanna Pierro. I'm the coordinator for 2 components at the Student Learning Center. The first would be supplemental instruction, or also known as SI, which means supplemental instruction, and writing, which is also sometimes known as writing. And for supplemental instruction, we have offer SI for 4 different classes right now: CMST and MCGS later on. So they're on separate semesters. Poli-Sci, history, and biology. And again, that's determined by the classes with highest failing rates. Now, what do SI leaders do? They meet, they go to all the classes. So, for example, we have Kate here who does SI for Poli-Sci, and she attends all of the Poli-Sci classes. And she also would meet with the professor one-on-one. Okay, so says you need to take more notes and bring bigger cups of coffee. And I think their discussions go somewhat like that, in fact, but I'm kidding. And in the classes, they also hold their own sessions outside of classes. And those sessions tend to be really intimate, and we're going to go a little bit into that. They are more or less the missing link between the students, or not those students, wait, wrong button, these students, and their professors. Okay. And so again, it's a real intimate environment that they create, and they have close relationships with the students. And that's because in their sessions, they're usually simplifying ideas. They don't use that. And they're doing group work. And they're having a ton of fun, right? Just in general. And that, of course, leads to better thinking and better thinkers and higher grades. So in SI, statistically, it's shown that those who attend SI versus those who do not actually earn almost a whole letter grade higher. And, of course, that's going to lead to better graduation rates. Now, as for writing, here is some stats that show the increase of writing usage. Again, similar to what Christine showed you in 2008 versus now. Quite a bit of difference there in students, and especially in visits, which means students are liking what they're seeing. And I think that's somewhat due to, at the beginning in 2008, we had appointments and drop-ins, and we've added some new things to that, which is group tutoring, online tutoring, and an online writing forum. I want to show you where to get this information and how to access it, which is through our website. So I'm going to zoom out of here and to the web page. So from the Chico web page, you would simply put /SLC, and it'll take you to the Student Learning Center website. On the left-hand side, there's multiple options for workshops, supplemental instruction, but for writing specifically, you would come here and it says, now offers online services, sign up here. By clicking on that, it'll ask you to enter your student ID and password, just as they would for Blackboard or their portal. And it'll ask you to sign up. You hit submit. And you are now self-enrolled. So the tricky part here is that students say, okay, I'm self-enrolled and now I don't know where to go. Not seeing that it says click OK in that small writing there. And you simply click it at the bottom right. And it'll take you directly to the Writing Center website. And here you're able to meet our tutors. So you can see all of our tutors here, our writing tutors, their hours for appointments, and it even asks their expertise, tells you that, APA format, MLA format, organization. Kate, who's here today, is a very popular writing tutor of ours. And so you can get any information that you need. Students often come here to see exactly what tutors might pair better with their needs, and then book their appointments. They can also submit their essays online by simply coming here, and this is actually looks a little bit different, but they will see just this top portion here. Online essay submissions. It asks them to submit it at least 3 days in advance because it takes some time to generate feedback from our tutors. And they would simply click on that, hit continue, and fill out the information. Let's see what's going. Okay, so it asks their year, their class, when it's due, and it asks for the prompt. And at the very bottom here, they're able to simply attach their assignment by browsing their computer. And they upload it, and within 1 to 3 business days, they get their essay back to them with all this elaborate feedback, which I prefer personally because they have an actual hard copy of the conversation. So it's almost the equivalent of transcribing an entire session that they can keep in their files and refer back to later on. Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt, but I'll forget.
Yeah, right. No problem.
What kind of feedback? Is it line editing? Is it
No.
grammar? Is it substance structure?
It could be. Sometimes we will, if there's huge grammar problems, actually, we often refer them to the ESL Center because we don't necessarily have the language to explain. We can absolutely identify the problem, but not explain what the recurrent issue is. So we will touch on it here and there, but we primarily deal with structure and organization, unity, coherence, thesis statements, the things that, in my opinion, truly matter to good writing. So we often do that and then ask them to submit a second draft where we'll then maybe touch on some of the smaller issues.
And is it in like comment form? Like
Yes, absolutely. In text, in text commenting. So we use Google Docs, which is the equivalent to Microsoft Word, the in-text commenting tool. So it'll pop up in comments on the side. And the way we comment, we don't say, this is wrong, this is terrible, you have to change it. It's more through, again, the same Socratic method that we use in sessions. We'll ask, what did you mean by this? Have you thought about elaborating here? And how does this connect to that, for example? So, and we also link them to our online handouts. So if we see that there's, there we go, a recurring issue, we'll say, oh, you're really struggling with Unity, check out this handout on Unity or thesis statements or topic sentences. And it'll more or less, actually, let's go back one. We'll take it back. Oh, thank you. It'll show this one. So it's a different format. Again, mine, as the creator, looks a little bit different. And while that's loading, thank you, Jim, very much, who set the whole Blackboard up for the Writing Center and the Student Learning Center. We also have one there. So they can come here, and in each folder, format and citations. We'll link them here. They can get this at any time. We do have grammar, paragraph development. So there's tons of handouts here that they can get from home. They don't have to come in the Student Learning Center, and we'll often link these to our feedback that we leave in the online essays. All right. And the writing form that we mentioned, so they can come here and in any area, pop in, ask a question, and receive a response. So, yeah.
Response time on that?
These are often a lot quicker than the online essays because this is more or less for students that just have a quick question while they're trying to figure out their essay at home. I forgot what a topic sentence is supposed to look like or what a thesis statement is supposed to do or if this is working for my paper. And they can shoot a question in and more than likely get a response in that same day, depending on how busy we are.
Somebody's in charge of like monitoring that on off throughout the day?
I am, yeah. And so what I'll do when a question comes in, I'll let my tutors know and they'll respond to it immediately. Yeah, because we always have a tutor on throughout our hours. Any other questions about the website? Oh, okay. I'm actually going to hand it over to our panelists that are going to speak more thoroughly about that. So if you guys want to take a seat, and we'll start with you, Corey. I guess will be a good transition into writing.
Did you have questions, or am I?
Yeah, you go for it.
Do you want me to just introduce myself?
Yeah, that would be a good place. Yeah.
I can do that. I'm Kate, Ori, or Corey, depending on who wants to call me what. And I've been a writing tutor officially for 2 semesters, and I was an intern the semester before that. And I'm a graduate student in teaching international languages, so it's definitely on my career path too. Do you want me to answer your questions, or are you going to ask them?
Yeah, you go ahead and answer.
We played with a couple of different formats. So I see all kinds of students in there. I know that list said that it's mostly freshmen, but I've helped people on their first college writing assignment figuring out what a prompt is through their graduate thesis and everywhere in between. Yeah, I think I've actually helped everybody beginning the semester, end of the semester, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, graduate student, everywhere along the way. All levels of writing proficiency. So I've helped people who need to figure out how to make a sentence make sense, and help people figure out how to make a paragraph make sense, and help people figure out what belongs in an argument. I mostly focus on paragraph development, and I get people who understand that immediately, and they just need help figuring out how to order their paragraphs. And I get people who come in there and they need to figure out how to not contradict themselves, or how to create a thesis statement to organize their whole paragraph or their whole paper. And then I get people who come in with, my professor said I have to come here, fix my paper. And I get people who come in and say, I have this really great idea and this is my first draft and how do I make it better? I prefer the latter. The former is kind of a challenge. It's my duty by the end of that to make them say, I have an idea and I want to write about it. Doesn't always work, but it usually does. And that's actually kind of my biggest kind of overall strategy, or my overall goal in every session, is to get somebody excited about their ideas and get them over the I'm a terrible writer, I don't want to do this kind of thing. I use what they've mentioned already, a kind of a applied Socratic method, and I forget the name, where I never tell somebody they're wrong, I never tell somebody what to do, I never write on anybody's paper. I write on the whiteboard all the time. I draw pictures. I draw really bad pictures, and I draw outlines in really bad handwriting. So it's kind of a testament to the two T's that they can understand what I'm talking about through the whole thing. But it is like a little record while we're talking to keep everybody remembering. I draw a lot of graphs. Sorry, I'm looking at the questions. One of the questions here is one of the most rewarding moments you've experienced as a tutor, and I'd say that last semester I had a student come in who was in English 130. It was her first semester at college, and she came in and she said, "I'm a terrible writer, I don't know what's going on, everybody's always told me I'm a bad writer and I have to do this thing." And so we worked together on that project throughout the semester and got to the point where she actually ended up presenting on it, and I went to her presentation. It was great. And then at the beginning of this semester, I was walking in BMU before tutoring even started, and she stopped me in the hallway and said, "I have this paper, and I want to talk about this, and I have these ideas, and I have this draft. Will you look at it?" And I was like, "It's the second week of class. What are you doing?" And so we made an appointment and worked it, and it was great. But getting her to the point where she forgot that she was supposed to be a bad writer, that's always the best that I can hope for, and I really like that. As I said, I'm learning to become a teacher of language and a teacher of writing, so I've definitely grown professionally. I've learned how to talk about a lot of things, and I've learned how to look at a student and more or less be able to tell if they are anywhere near the same page as I am, which is one of the greatest skills I think I can get out of it. So if I'm explaining something and I see that look in their eye where they're just like, "You are so far off from what I want to say," and then also being able to kind of connect with their ideas and make sure that I'm not overriding them with, even if I'm just talking about structure, I don't want to accidentally push them into the wrong argument. And I've learned a lot about how to control that. And then personally, I've just learned a lot of patience. I've learned a lot of ability to connect with people very briefly and get to the point. I think time management is both personal and professional, but I'm working on that. I know my sessions go a little long sometimes, but I'm working on it. And then if I could talk to students, every student at Chico State that has a paper at some point in their career, which is every student at Chico State, I would basically tell them to relax, that they do have awesome ideas and that we can figure out the writing part, but just focus on the ideas. To faculty, I'd say just be as clear as possible about expectations. The two problems that people come in with are, I don't know what my professor wants, and I'm a bad writer. And students are good at getting over the I'm a bad writer part, but professors have the most power in getting over the I don't know what I'm supposed to do part. And then to everybody else, there are fantastic services on this campus that nobody knows about. And I've noticed in the last couple of semesters, we're trying harder. The writing center is getting out there more, advising is getting out there, everybody's getting out there more, and I see a big change in students. But half of what I do is say, okay, you need to go to the library and talk to a librarian, this is how you do it. Or the counseling center, or the career center, or the advising office, and just making sure that everybody knows about those places and that they're allowed to go and that they should go if they have those kinds of questions. I've talked for a very long time, very quickly, so I'm going to give it to the other Kate to talk about her thing.
Hi, I'm Kate Feingold. I am also a writing tutor, but today I'll be talking about SI, supplemental instruction, because I'm also an SI leader. I'm an SI leader for political science. And I mostly see freshmen, first year students. However, I do see sophomores, seniors who are taking their last GE class this semester. So I see a wide range of students as well. And I think the misconception is you come to tutoring if you're a bad student or you need help or you're struggling. But I see very, very bright students who maybe don't know that they're bright yet. So that's what's so much fun, is helping them realize that they are really intelligent, and honestly they could be up in front of our SI session teaching everyone else. So I try to encourage that and foster opportunities for students to do that. So what kind of strategies do I use to help these students? That's one, but also catering to lots of different learning types and helping students figuring out what kind of learning style works for them, whether it's visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, and I try to incorporate all aspects of my lesson or session that caters to all those different types. We also play games, do crossword puzzles, play Jeopardy. Seems a little kindergartner-ish, but it's really fun, and people retain information better that way. What's my most rewarding moment as a tutor? Well, I've been a writing tutor before I was an SI leader, so I have some more, since I've only been an SI leader for a few months now, the rewarding moments I'm sure are still to come. But I did have a tutee that I had helped just once or twice in the Writing Center, and I didn't even realize that I had made such an impact on her, but she, at the end of the semester when we were returning our books in the bookstore, she flagged me down and told me how much I had impacted her experience in the class, which I wasn't even aware of, and she gave me a really big hug. It was really sweet, and now she actually comes and sees me regularly at the Writing Center this semester, which is great. And I hold test reviews for my political science SI sessions, and I had a record number of students. 110 came to one of my review sessions, which I wasn't expecting at all. I don't know what worked in getting all those students there. I attribute maybe the time. It was 6 o'clock at night. Good time for everyone. People don't have classes.
You're a great leader.
I don't know. I hope maybe. I would hope it's that. But I also have a really great working relationship with the professor I work with, and so I really see how I get so many students to come in because the professor is on board as well and helps advertise SI, putting it up on the Blackboard Learn site, talking about it in class. So that would be my suggestion to faculty and staff, is just to let students know about our services and tell them what the results can be if they come and see us, and really encourage them to come. And how have I grown? I learned I want to be a teacher. I guess that's a big thing. But just really, I've always been a patient and compassionate person, but working with a diverse group of students really makes you even more so. And thinking on your feet, critical thinking skills like skyrocket through the roof, because you have to juggle so much in a session. You have to think about the time. You have to answer questions, but also remember where you are in your lesson. So all of that I've improved on. So thank you.
Any questions real quick before we go on for either one of those
panelists? All right. My name is Matt Barton. I worked the front desk last semester, and now I'm doing front desk and I'm Spanish tutoring as well. So I've kind of got like a unique perspective of the center, because I've gotten to see like all the students that come in, because they have to go through the front desk. And to echo what they said, there's definitely like a huge variety of students that come in. Like there's students that pretty much like know the subject material well, but they just want like the extra help. And then there's all the way on the other spectrum, or on the other side of the spectrum, like students that don't know anything and they're like, I need help. Like, so it's like a wide like variety. Like you never know like what a student needs from a tutor. As for what I've seen like from like a rewarding experience kind of, just working the front desk, I've seen a lot of students like change their attitude about tutoring. Because when you hear tutoring, I think a lot of students think like, oh, that's like, if you need help, like that's where you go. But I think one of the goals of the Learning Center is making people realize that it's not like the dumb students that need it. It's like everyone can benefit from tutoring. Like it's just extra help and whatever you need. And I think I've seen a lot of students like realize that. Like some students will come in and like not be excited about it, like, oh, my teacher made me come here. And then they'll come back the next semester and be like, okay, I have to get tutoring for Math 121, Biology 211, and so they like realize, oh, like this isn't just for like, oh, dumb students. It's like anyone can benefit from the services that we offer here. Let's see. I've definitely seen myself grow professionally from working in the center, because you do deal with like a lot of different types of people, like all ages. We have a lot of older people that come into the center for extra help, and some people are a challenge, and some people are really easy to deal with. It just depends, but definitely dealing with like all those different types of people definitely helps you grow professionally. And being a tutor has really helped me as well. Definitely helping me in like my public speaking skills, and just, I mean, it does help you learn the material better. Like everyone always says that, like, oh, like I learn more from being a tutor than from learning, but it really does. You like, when you're explaining it to someone, you realize, oh, like that makes sense. So that's definitely helped me a lot too, just teaching it. What questions do you have on there? Advice for faculty and students, I would just say that everyone can benefit from tutoring. I had never been to the center before I started working there, but last semester I decided, like, why not get a tutor for Spanish? I wasn't really having trouble in the subject, but I decided to do it anyway, and it was definitely like a rewarding experience. Like, I learned a lot, and we didn't have to go over like, oh, like, did you do well on the test? Like, he just kind of went over whatever I needed to, and I was just like, it just helped me learn the language better. So anyone can benefit from the programs that we offer. And yeah, I guess I'll turn it over to Michael.
Hi, my name is Michael Fitzpatrick, and I'm a master's student in English right now, but my undergraduate work was in philosophy, and so I am working at the Student Learning Center tutoring for the logic and critical thinking class as well as the intermediate logic classes. And although there's so much diversity to our students, I'd say that the two most salient characteristics I've noticed out of all of my students is I either get a class of people who are very sincere about learning the material, and they're not there because they're struggling, they're there because they really want to understand the concepts and know how to apply them. And so those types of students are engaged, they're bringing material to the sessions, they're asking questions, they've read the chapter, and usually with them I find myself just more being a kind of guide to the material, and they do most of the work. Whereas the other group is the students who are thinking to themselves, I'm in this class because it's a GE course, it's required, I just need to get a good passing grade, help me get a passing grade. And for them, I found that I have to be more of an inspirational type of figure. I have to pull them out of themselves and try to find ways to make the material relevant to their life and connect them to it so that they get interested, they get passionate, and hopefully, doesn't always work, but by the end of the semester they actually have really enjoyed themselves going through the material. To accomplish some of those goals, I try a variety of different strategies, but the predominant one that I find myself coming back to is setting up a model for the students of being a student myself. So I'll put up a logic problem on the board, and I'll walk them through it with me, showing them not just how to do the problem, but how I approach the problem as a student for problem solving, for study skills, for doing the problems on an in-class exam where you only have 13 seconds to answer when you're using the little clickers. And I try to give them those kinds of skills. And then once I've set up that model, then I put a new problem on the board, and I have them show me how to get through the problem. And I found that most of the time students struggle with material just because they're lost. The students feel like the professor has gone through too fast through the material, or their textbook didn't really make sense of it. And once they get that clear model of, oh, here's how I do it, then they can the next time go to the problem themselves and say, okay, I know how to do this. Michael said da-da-da-da-da, and then they do it themselves, and pretty soon they don't even have to have recourse to what I said. And I've been tutoring now for 3 semesters at the Student Learning Center, and it's been an incredible experience. And I have a lot of great memories, but probably the moment that stands out the most for me right now is something that happened fairly recently. And it was during our training session at the Student Learning Center. They were having a moment where different tutors would share about their experiences. And one of the things we were sharing about was who was our mentor. And one of the SI leaders raised her hand and just said that 2 semesters ago she'd had philosophy tutoring with me, and that it not just helped her through the class, but that it changed her as a person and helped her want to get involved in tutoring. And that blew me away. It was the last thing I expected to hear. And since then, I've really noticed that everywhere I go on campus, I run into students that I've had in past sessions who take the time to stop me and say, I just want to let you know, I got a B in that class. And you can visibly see how excited they are and how proud of their accomplishment they are, and that they remember me by name. Some of them will even send me an email after the semester is over with, or come by the center. That's, I think, the real tangible quality of the work we do, and what I find so rewarding about my job. And to kind of tie it in a little more personally, my goal is to teach someday. And one of the main reasons I started tutoring at the Student Learning Center is to kind of begin preparing myself to hopefully teach at a university level someday. And I don't know really what I thought about teaching before I started tutoring, but now that I've been a tutor for 3 semesters, I've had an opportunity to see these classes from the students' point of view. And I am constantly hearing their reactions to different pedagogical strategies and thinking, okay, I could do that, or wow, I'm never going to do that. And those are skills I think that will translate into the rest of my career, as hopefully being a philosophy professor myself someday. If I have my own logic courses, I have a much, much better sense of the type of material that students need more time on, and the type of material that they somewhat intuitively understand, or where to put my energies and how to interact with them. And so I think my advice to both students and faculty, starting with students, I really think that we need to help students and encourage them to not see school as a means to a job, or a means to getting good grades, or a means to making their parents happy, but it really is an opportunity to learn, because once they get interested in the learning process, they are invested and they care about what they're doing. And when they're not interested in learning, when they're just trying to get a good grade or get through school, it's a chore for them. And I actually think it makes learning for them harder. They have no motivation to remember the material and learn the skills. And kind of in complement with that, to faculty, I do notice that there's sometimes a tendency with faculty to forget what it's like to be a student and forget what those student struggles are. And I would suggest that faculty, for all the classes that are tutored for at the SLC, they should come by and meet with the tutors that tutor there and get to know the tutors' experiences, what they learn from the students, because I could write a binder full of recommendations to the faculty that I tutor for of issues that I'm pretty sure they're not aware of. And I've tried to meet with some of them one-on-one, but it would be much more effective, I think, if faculty were actually seeking that kind of information out, finding out, hey, from your point of view, how are my students doing? What are they struggling with? What attempts to approach this material have I tried that are working or not working? Because I think sometimes faculty forget that they still have a lot to learn about teaching, because we're always learning, and I think that would be a really effective way that they could better connect with their students.
So any questions? Yes, we love our tutors. They're fabulous. Absolutely. We are so fortunate, and this is just 4 out of our 70 plus, and they're all excellent tutors. So, and we have tutors from a variety of different disciplines, different countries. We have international students who are tutors, so we have a lot of different perspectives. Does anyone have any questions about any of our? Yes.
I do have one question. My name is Marjorie Shepard, and I work in the technology and learning program, and I help faculty add Turnitin assignments to their courses. So I was just wondering, do you get any students who get these originality reports back from Turnitin, which can have, potentially sources where they've matched other sources out on the internet? And then also it's got this grammatical component to it, a grammar checker that I've heard things about, kind of pluses and minuses about. I'm just wondering, do you ever get students that come in and follow up and go, I got this report from Turnitin and I need help?
I recommend students make sure that they have turned in, especially if I know that they do have they're not getting the plagiarism thing. I'll say, okay, try this. I've only gotten one person who came back from that, and she was worried because it said 0%. And it's not supposed to say 0%. But that's the only person I've ever seen come back, and I've never seen the grammar version.
Yeah, that's new.
But I will keep an eye out.
However, I should say that I've been thinking about, and originally when we set this up, Jim and I had talked about using Turnitin as a way for students to submit their essays. So that's still a feature I'm looking into. I was having a difficult time trying to figure out how to get them to submit it without submitting it to the repository. Okay, so then you're the person. Great. And Jen gave me some advice too, but I think by next semester that should be up and running. Yeah.
I have a kind of side comment on that. I TA for a class that uses Turnitin, and I just noticed, and this is the first time I've ever thought about it, that there's not a lot of emphasis for it as a tool for students. The instructors, at least in my experience, approach it as this is for us, not for the students. So it sounds like you have ideas for how it could be a resource for students, and I wonder if...
Well, that's exactly what we say. We say it's a tool for the students to help improve their writing. It's not just this punitive checker.
Right.
So just look at that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had a lot of classes that use it. I don't know if I've ever had a professor offer it as a resource. I don't know if I've ever even thought about it myself. So now I'm sitting here, my wheels are turning about how I could use it, but I think that'd be neat if more faculty encourage that.
Mm-hmm. If anyone ever wants to talk about it, I've been using it for years. I use it I have to use it because I have to check the data when I use it for their purposes too, and I can tell you how that goes.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I want to say thank you very much from the campus for the work that you ladies do, not just for those students who are struggling, for the ones that have high expectations, but because you're creating a really, really great love of teaching and sort of an opportunity for people to, like they had said over and over, to be better at working with students and to be better at working with the content and be better at presenting the content so that when they leave here, they're not just going to have their degree, they're going to have real world experience with students, from a situation that they would never have had an opportunity to get. So good job.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I know both Deanna and I were tutors as undergraduates and also as a graduate students, and it certainly impacted my life to the point that I'm still, wanting to do this kind of work. It's so wonderful. And one of the things that we'd hoped to close with was actually a little video from former tutors who've gone on to do different things. One of them is, but unfortunately the videos didn't quite, we had technological issues with them, but one of them is now in dental school, and one of the things that she did, she took a dental hygienist course while she was preparing for dental school, and she created she was a former SI leader for anatomy, and she created all these learning materials for her fellow students to help them study. And I know that someday she's going to end up teaching. She's going into dentistry, but she's also going to teach. And she just recently sent me a whole bunch of cool anatomy materials to share with the SI leaders and current tutors. She's still engaged and connected with us. And another one is now in the PhD program at the University of Washington in engineering, and he's teaching engineering as well, and he was a fantastic physics tutor. So I know he's doing an amazing job as a TA. And then another one is now in Massachusetts, and then we have some that are teaching here as graduate students. So we know that they go on, and no matter what career or profession they're going into, we know that the skills that they learn here inform everything that they do and have a huge impact on their lives. So that's one of for me, the most satisfying thing is being able to see the professional development that goes on with the tutors. So we definitely appreciate that. It's fantastic. Did you want to add anything to that, Deanna?
No, I mean, I think a lot of students, to piggyback off of that, come in with a different goal in mind and a different idea for what they're going to do as a career, and that often changes. I remember Kate, I think initially you were going to be a lawyer, right? and now, she's applying for Teach for America, right? So that's really always interesting to see the growth that they go through, and how such a passion for teaching is created.
Yeah,
it's
in
beautiful.
fact, just thinking of that reminds me of one of our former political science SI leaders has now created almost her own job description to become an agricultural educator, and her skills and her experience were so outstanding that basically the company she works for in Iowa essentially just said, they practically designed the job for her specifically. So it's pretty exciting, the opportunities that it can provide. So.
You can see they've got the teaching bug.
Oh yeah, definitely. They definitely do. So
I just want to say that I'm really excited by what I'm seeing here. When I started teaching here 6 or 7 years ago, I was also sometimes teaching at Butte. And Butte has this huge Center for Academic Success, this huge auditorium, and there's all these tables, and it's vibrant, and there's stuff going on all the time. When I first came, I didn't get that same feel from the tutoring services that were offered on campus. And when I talked to students, they're like, what tutoring services? I feel like you're there now. I feel like you're at this incredibly vibrant and getting even more so, with how fast it's growing and how big it's getting. And I love that. That's something I've wanted to see on this campus since I got here. And so, major kudos to you for pulling that off. I think it's amazing. I'm really sad that there aren't more people.
I know. We were sad too.
I'm really, really sad. And if there's a way you could do it again at another CELT session and demand a different time slot.
Right. Yeah, last year we did it, and they put us next to the keynote speakers workshop for faculty, and so we asked them to do it again, and then they put us at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Well, so this is obviously being videotaped. I'm hoping that you wipe out everything that shows me. Because I maybe could link this on my Blackboard.
Right. That would be
wonderful. Could I do that?
Yes.
So that people can actually see you guys talking about what's available as well?
That would be great.
And we've thought about having like an open house for faculty as well, having people come into the center, and we think that would be really great. It's just sort of we're trying to figure out how to fund
One of the things I was thinking of
that.
doing is bringing in a paper and sitting down with one of the tutors.
Oh, that'd be
as
great.
though it's my paper.
Oh,
and
that'd be
just be like,
cool.
what are we going to do
That's
with
a great
this? Because
idea.
I'd love to, experience what's available. I really do want to reinforce the Turnitin thing. I think it's useful to talk to people who've used it. So the offer's out there. If you're going to do something with it, I'd be happy to talk to you. Some of my colleagues are using it as well, who I know would be happy to talk to you.
What was your name one more time?
Deb McCabe.
Okay,
I'm a little notorious over there. Because I do teach a very intensive writing class that students are have trouble with. And I know that they often are over there seeking writing help. And now I'm also teaching EOP, and so now I have an SI leader, and this is kind of my first experience with that. I have so many questions about the writing part of it.
You should come visit us.
Should I just talk to you offside, or should I talk about it here? What do you?
Come.
One of the things that I want to know, and so I can tell some of my colleagues as well, is sometimes I get students who've gone over to the writing tutors and they come back with stuff that's, I go, oh no. You never know whether that's actually what was said to them in the tutoring session, or whether that's what they heard, which may not have been what was said to them, or whether that's how they put it into practice. So there's all kinds of different, but my question is, what do I do in that situation? Like, how do I, because I don't want to say don't go there anymore if that's what you're coming out with.
Right. Which is seldom, I assure you, seldom the case. If usually when we get feedback.
But it's been consistent enough that with certain writing things that I'm not quite sure.
Well, that's when definitely, if instructors are ever seeing a disconnect of some sort, to absolutely contact me. That's the first thing. So again, a big part of it too, as one person mentioned, is the clarification of the prompt. So that can be a big struggle, that it's being misinterpreted, which it often can be misinterpreted by the student or by the tutor. So I think first clarifying that piece of it, and just contacting the coordinator, which is myself, and able to clarify that with the tutors is a big part, because I meet with them weekly.
Yeah.
So I can definitely go over any concerns that you have, or ideas about the prompts, or what exactly, if there's something different that maybe you're looking for in your classes that other instructors aren't, that I can disseminate that information onto my tutors. So absolutely connect with me is the first part. So we'll.
And at some point, a couple of years, I think it was during the furlough year, and it didn't happen, but somebody from your center contacted me, and because we tend to send a high volume of our students go over there, about maybe having a tutor who's specifically capable for that class. Is that something that's... This was 3 years ago, and it was initiated by somebody over there, but I don't know if that's done anymore.
That must have been before me.
What class is it?
CMSD 331. It's a junior level intensive writing class for majors in communication.
I'm trying to remember, because I mean, it used to be before Deanna started. Deanna's been here, what, 2 years?
No, barely a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, this was like 3 or 4 years ago.
She's done so much, it's hard to believe it's like her. But and before that, it was just me and Wendy, basically.
Okay.
And we acquired the Writing Center from the English department. They basically turned it over to us in 2008, and but we didn't really have a real writing coordinator, and so I was trying to kind of manage everything, and it was. But I don't remember, because it probably would have been me, and it was one of the tutors, but I don't know.
I don't know. So my question is just: is that something like if it's a class that continually sends people over, and it's the same class and it's taught the same way every semester? Is it better to have a specific? What they were doing was asking for my material. Asking like, what do you do? What are you looking at? And I'm perfectly willing to do it, but I don't know if that's.
Well, what we have done is tried to collect prompts, and especially for students that come in high numbers for specific courses, we do try to collect assignments or try to get an idea. I know you're still doing that too, right?
Yeah.
Collecting the information to try to make sure that that the tutors have resources to be able to address issues. But
yeah, I mean, it's really difficult when you're seeing so many different subjects, and that's the tricky part for writing, is that we're trying to tutor across the curriculum. Right. So, and when you're dealing with instructors that all have different ideas of what writing should look like for their course. So that's why we tend to focus strictly on organization and structure, because more or less that's pretty consistent throughout. But then again, you'll still get instructors that are like, you came back from the writing center with this paper, all this feedback, but they didn't touch on grammar. And that's like 90% of the grade that they give. So it really just depends, and it's really a struggle for us. And that goes back to what we were saying before. The most important part is the connection with the instructors, that the instructors are visiting the center and connecting with the coordinators and trying to get the information out there and develop that relationship, because that's really the only way we're going to be able to connect with the students better and help them.
So one of the things Deanna did recently was go to a departmental meeting with the education department and met with the faculty there, and I think that's a really helpful thing is if Deanna can meet with faculty and departments that have any writing concerns, that would be a great way if they have a departmental meeting.
Right, yeah, so I'm definitely open to all invitation and try to put that out there as much as possible, that I'm willing to go to meetings or presentations, whatever it takes to get the word out there and get a better idea of what faculty are looking for. So.
There's also something that Butte does, and I don't know if you guys, or they did, and I don't know if you've done it or if you've considered it, but I think it worked pretty well. And they had, for them it was faculty doing it, but it could be tutors, I don't know, but they do these hour-long specific sessions on certain features of different kinds of classes, and I taught some of them sometimes. It was a tiny stipend, but I just did it just because. But so like somebody would do a session on the basics of APA or the basics of MLA, standalone sessions, or effective research, efficient research, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then they'd get like 20, 30 students in each one of those classes. I think they somehow get credit for it. I think that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, they do. They actually, and one of the things that Butte has a huge advantage over us is that they actually get, I can't remember the terminology, but they basically get funding.
That's the next thing I was going to
ask.
ask.
Yeah, they get funding based on the number of people that come, and we don't. We're funded through lottery funds, which keep diminishing. And then also we applied for a student learning fee this year and got some funding through that. And then we have a little bit of general fund money and some money that came from mainly what came over when the writing department came over, or writing came over from English. So our funding is pretty limited for that, but we do offer study skills workshops, and we have offered APA. We had a graduate student in psychology who was able to offer that, and he's now actually teaching in psychology, which is great. And a lot of our workshops are available online through the RCE. So if you go to our website, the Student Learning Center website, and you go to study skills workshops, you can actually see, and the APA workshop is online, and I think he did Scott Lewis did an outstanding job of that. And I know Kate's offered, and she's going to have a workshop this semester.
Yeah, I did one on synthesizing sources last semester, and the one in November 5th is about correlating your reading to your writing, so reading to write.
And these are been recorded and are on?
That one probably will be.
Before we started recording them, but the one on the 5th will be recorded.
And the first one was synthesizing sources? Yes. That you might record it at some point, and then it would be up there?
Right.
It'll be on our website.
As well as all the dates for all of our workshops. So those are created at the beginning of the semester, and there's usually a huge variety, and a number of them are on writing. So that would be the first place to look. We have also in the past done in-class presentations that we've accepted requests from instructors to have a presentation on APA or MLA or all kinds of different things, research topics and such. And we'll go into the classroom and actually present for an hour or so on that topic for no extra cost. But again, because of funding, things like that have fallen apart a little bit. But we still have the workshops that are going strong. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask us and come by and visit anytime. It was fabulous.
One really quick last thing was, speaking of writing, was that I forgot to show you that once they've signed up for the class and they've come here to access it later on, they'd log into Blackboard as they would for any other class, and they will see the writing workshop underneath my organizations. So it won't show up in their classes, but it will for their organizations, and it'll be my writing center.
Can you show me how you did that again, how you got there in the first place?
Yeah, so again, they'll have to sign up, which will be through our website, the
Just
SLC.
basically just Chico State website /SLC for student learning center.
And then the writing appointments. And then they'll sign up, and then they should, it'll link them directly to the course. But the trick is, again, that later on, and you'll be able to tell if they did it right or not, that it should show up underneath their organizations. And if it doesn't, then just contact me if there's any problems with that.
So I don't put it in mine.
No. Yeah, you don't have to do anything on your end. It's really a self-enrollment. So, yeah.
We do have a link that we can send you, and then you can get your students to do that. To go directly to the enrollment if you want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll definitely.
The QR
I do want to do
code.
that.
Have it with their cell phones.
Yeah. Well, thank you all very, very much, and thank you, panelists, for joining us. All did a great job.